Greetings to all. Welcome back to online classes. It's me, Gayatri, social teacher again. I hope you have revised the previous class lesson, Early Revolt Against British Rule in Tamil Nadu. Today, we are going to learn the next lesson, that is lesson 7, unit 7, Anti-Colonial Movements and the Birth of Nationalism. Okay, the title of the lesson, Anti-Colonial Movements and the Birth of Nationalism. On June 23rd, 1757, the Battle of Plassey started. So, Battle of Plassey started on June 23rd, 1757. This battle was fought between Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal, and the English East India Company. Okay, Nawab of Bengal and English East India Company. In this battle of Plassey, the Nawab of Bengal was defeated. Okay, Nawab of Bengal was defeated, and the English East India Company got victory. In the British side, the battle was led by Robert Clive. Okay, in the British side, the battle was led by Robert Clive, who was the commander-in-chief of the English East India Company. Commander-in-chief of the English East India Company. Robert Clive got the secret support from Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar. Now we should know who was that Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar was the uncle of Siraj-ud-Dowlah. Uncle of Siraj-ud-Dowlah. And the chief of the Nawab's army. Robert Clive got the support from Jagat Seths also. Jagat Seths, Jagatseths. Jagat Seths are the moneylenders from Bengal. These Jagat Seths were suffered due to Siraj-ud-Dowlah's policy. So they helped Robert Clive. Between 1757 and 1760, the company received rupees 22.5 million from Mir Jafar, who became the Nawab of Bengal. The same money was later invested to propel the Industrial Revolution in Britain. Here, propel means to move forward. The Industrial Revolution in Britain, which rapidly mechanized the British textile industry. At the same time, India was led to the path of deindustrialization and forced to create a market for the products manufactured in Britain. Forced India to create a market for the products manufactured in Britain. The plunder of India by the East India Company continued for another 190 years. Plunder of India by the East India Company continued for another 190 years. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the British rule in India from the early and mid 19th century to early 20th century. And the resistance and the response against the British rule in the Indian subcontinent. Resistance and response against the British rule in the Indian subcontinent. The first heading, peasant and tribal resistance. Peasant means farmers, Tribal, that is very easy to understand. While the urban elite, here elite means most powerful or belonging to the rich. While the urban elite of India was busy and they were responding to the Western ideas and rationality by engaging in various socio-religious reform movements. More aggressive response to the British rule. Emerged in rural India, occurred in rural India. The traditional elite and peasantry, along with the tribals, revolted. Traditional elite and peasantry along with the tribals revolted. They were not ready to remove the British people. They need to restore the pre-colonial order. Okay, they are not ready to remove the British people, but they need to restore the pre-colonial order. There were nearly 100% uprisings. Okay, nearly 100% uprisings during British rule. They can be categorized as first one, restorative rebellion. Restorative rebellion, that is the ability to restore. Second one, religious movements. Third one, socio-banditry. Banditry means robbery. Banditry, that is crime. Okay, meaning crime, robbery. Okay. Third one, that fourth one is mass insurrection. Mass insurrection means that is a rebellion, uprising. Okay. We will see elaborately all these four headings. First one, restorative rebellion. This type of agitation relates to restore old order and old social relations. Okay, restore old order and old social relations. Second one, religious movements. These agitations were led by religious leaders for the liberation of local people. Understand? For the liberation of local people by restructuring society. By restructuring the society on certain religious principles. Okay, on certain religious principles. Third one, social banditry. Social banditry. The leaders of such movements were considered criminal by the British. The leaders of such movements were considered criminal by the British. But the powerful people, that is traditional elite. But the traditional elite were looked upon by their people as heroes or champions of their cause. Heroes or champions of their cause. Last one, that is the fourth one, mass insurrection. Leaderless and spontaneous uprising. Spontaneous means what? Sudden. Spontaneous means sudden. So, leaderless and sudden uprising is known as mass insurrection. Next, we will see changes in the revenue system. Okay, changes in the revenue system. The East India Company restructured the Mughal revenue system across India. East India Company restructured the Mughal revenue system across India. It is increased the financial burden on the peasants. It increased the financial burden on the peasants. In pre-British India, there was no widespread system of private ownership of the land. Okay, in the pre-British India, there was no widespread system of private ownership of the land. Next heading, subletting of land. Subletting of land. Subletting means property leased by one to another. Subletting means property leased by one to another. The practice of subletting of land complicated the agrarian relations. Okay, complicated the agrarian relations. The zamindars often sublet land to many subordinate landlords. Okay, often sublet land to many subordinate landlords. The landlords collected a fixed amount of revenue from the peasants. This increased the tax burden on the peasants. This increased the tax burden on the peasants. Next, we will see peasant uprising. Okay, peasant uprising. Peasant revolts began in the early 19th century and continued till the very end of the British rule in India. Okay, began in the early 19th century and continued till the very end of the British rule in India. Many of these revolts were led by religious leaders. Okay, religious leaders. Next, Farsi movement. F-A-R-A-Z-I, Farsi movement. This Farsi movement was started by Haji Shariatullah. Started by Haji Shariatullah in the year 1818. In the year 1818. It was started in the parts of Eastern Bengal. Started in the parts of Eastern Bengal. Shariatullah passed away in the year 1839. Shariatullah passed away in the year 1839. So, after the death of Shariatullah, the rebellion was led by his son Tutumian. Led by his son Tutumian, Dudumian, Tutumian. Tutumian called upon the peasants not to pay tax. Okay, don't want to pay tax. It gained popularity on a simple doctrine that the land and all wealth should be equally enjoyed by the common people. Okay, the simple doctrine that the land and all wealth should be equally enjoyed by the common people. He declared that land belongs to God. Okay, Dudumian declared that land belongs to God. Collecting rent or levying taxes was against divine law. He said collecting rent and levying taxes was against divine law. Many peasants were collected through the network of village organization. Many peasants were organized or collected through the network of village organizations. Tutumian passed away in the year 1862. So, unfortunately and unexpectedly, Tutumian passed away in the year 1862. After the death of Tutumian, this Farsi movement was revived by Noah-Mian. Okay, Noah, Noah, Mian, M-I-A-N, Noah-Mian in the year 1870s. That is in the 1870s. Next, we are going to see Wahhabi rebellion in Parasat. Wahhabi rebellion in Barasat. The Wahhabi rebellion was considered as an anti-imperial and anti-landlord movement. Okay, anti-imperial and anti-landlord movement. That is, it was started to fight against the British rule and the landlords. Okay, it was started to fight against the British rule and landlords. This movement started in and around 1827. In and around 1827. It was started in Barasat. Barasat is a region in Bengal. Okay, Barasat is a region in Bengal. It was led by an Islamic preacher. Islamic preacher Titumir. 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 Because he was deeply influenced by the Wahhabi teachings. Okay, he was deeply influenced by the Wahhabi teachings. He became an influential figure among the Muslim peasantry oppressed under the Zamindars. Okay, oppressed under the Zamindars. Next, tribal uprising. Tribal uprising. Under colonial rule, for the first time in Indian history, government claimed a direct proprietary, that is ownership, proprietary right over forests. Okay, under colonial rule, for the first time in Indian history, government claimed a direct proprietary, that is ownership over forest. The British rule and its encouragement of a commercialization forest led to be the disintegration of the traditional tribal system. Okay, forest led to the disintegration of the traditional tribal system. So, in the tribal areas, non-tribal people like moneylenders, traders, land grabbers, and contractors arrived. This led to the loss of Adivasi land and their displacement from their traditional habitats. Okay, actually, tribal resistance was started against the people, those who introduced changes in the peaceful tribal life. Okay, tribal resistance was started against the people, those who introduced changes in the peaceful tribal life. Okay. Next, coal revolt. Coal revolt, K-O-L, coal revolt. Coal revolt was considered as one of the major tribal revolts. One of the major tribal revolts. The coal uprising started in between 1831 to 32. 1831 to 32. It occurred in Chota Nagpur, Singhbhum region of Jharkhand and Orissa. Okay, Chota Nagpur, Singhbhum region of Jharkhand and Orissa. This coal revolt was started under the leadership of two important personalities. First one, Bindrai, B-I-N-D-R-A-I, and second person, Singrai, S-N-G-H-R-A-I, Bindrai and Singrai. The Raja of Chota Nagpur had leased out to moneylenders the job of revenue collection. Okay, the job of revenue collection. The moneylenders forced the tribals to leave their land. The moneylenders forced the tribals to leave their land. This led to the resentment of Gauls. The initial protest and resistance of Gauls was in the form of plunder and attacks on the properties of outsiders. Okay, initial protest and resistance of Gauls was in the form of plunder and attacks on the properties of outsiders. After that, they started to kill the moneylenders and merchants. Okay, started to kill the moneylenders and merchants. The tribal leaders followed. Okay, the tribal leaders followed different methods to spread their message. They followed different methods to spread their message, such as beating of drums, and circulation of arrows, and warning to all the outsiders to leave. The Cole rebels controlled the king's palace also. Anyhow, the British suppressed the rebellion with great violence. Now this is the time for studying Sandal Hole. Sandal, S-A-N-T-H-A-L. Sandal means a set of people. Hole means insurrection. Insurrection or uprising. So Sandal insurrection or Sandal uprising. Sandal set of people. Sandals scattered in different parts of Eastern India. Sandals scattered in different parts of Eastern India. The Sandals were forced to move out of their homeland during the time of the creation of Samains under permanent settlements. They were oppressed by the local police and the European officers, those who engaged in the railway construction. They were oppressed by the local police and the European officers, those who engaged in the railway construction. Then the Sandals were forced to depend on the moneylenders. Soon they were suffered from debt and exhaustion. E-X-O-R-T-I-O-N. Exhaustion means the practice of taking something from an unwilling person. The practice of taking something from an unwilling person by physical force. Sandals were neglected by the corrupt British officials. Outbreak of the war. Around 1854, the activities of social banditry led by Bir Singh, Bir Singh, was reported from different places. These were directed against Mahajanas and traders. Bir Singh was summoned to the Zamindari court. There he was beaten up and humiliated. These repressive measures angered the Sandals. In 1855, two Sandal brothers, Sidhu and Kannu, proclaimed that they had received a divine message. From the God, asking them to lead the rebellion. On July 1855, the rebellion has taken the form of open insurrection. Insurrection means uprising, open uprising against the Mahajanas, the Zamindars and the British officials. Against the Mahajanas, the Zamindars and the British officials. They marched with bows, poisoned arrows, axes and swords. They marched with bows, poisoned arrows, axes and swords, and they decided to put an end to the company's rule in Rajmahal and Bhagalpur. Suddenly, the villages were raided and the properties were destroyed by the British. The villages were raided and the properties were destroyed by the British. Nearly 15 to 25,000 rebels were murdered before the insurrection was suppressed. Okay, 15 to 25,000 rebels were murdered before the insurrection was suppressed. In 1855, an act was passed to regulate the territories occupied by the Santals. This 1885 act formed the territory into a separate division. Okay, 1885 Act formed the territory into a separate division called Sandal Pargana Division. Okay, Sandal Pargana Division. Next, we will see Munda Rebellion. MUNDA. One of the prominent tribal rebellions occurred in Ranchi was known as Ulugulan Rebellion. Ulugulan Ulugulan Rebellion. The Munda people were familiar in collective farming. The Munda people were familiar in collective farming, that is known as Kundakatti. Okay, Kundakatti land system. Kundakatti land system. That is joint holding system. Okay, joint holding system. It was totally destroyed by introduction of a private ownership of land. Okay, first one, introduction of a private ownership of land. Second one, intrusion of merchants and moneylenders. Intrusion of merchants and moneylenders. Intrusion means penetration or infiltration. Okay, two things: introduction of private ownership of land, intrusion of merchants and moneylenders. Merchants and moneylenders. The Munda people were forced to work on plantations as indentured laborers. Okay, indentured laborers. Indentured means like slaves. Like slaves. So, Munda people were forced to work on plantations as indentured laborers. In the 1890s, tribal chiefs resisted against the alienation of tribal people. Okay, tribal chiefs resisted against the alienation of tribal people from their land and imposition of a forced labor. Okay, imposition of a forced labor. Here, alienation means withdrawing or separation of a person. Okay, withdrawing. We can take this meaning withdrawing. Okay, the movement received an impetus. Impetus here means encouragement. The movement received an impetus when Birsa Munda declared himself as a messenger. Okay, movement received an impetus when Birsa Munda declared himself as a messenger of God. Messenger of God. Birsa declared that he had a prophecy. He had a prophecy. Prophecy means a relation with God. Prophecy and promised supernatural solutions. Okay, supernatural solutions to the problem of Munda people. To the problem of Munda people. The Munda leaders utilized the cult of Birsa Munda. The Munda leaders utilized the cult of Birsa Munda to recruit more people to their cause. To recruit more people to their cause. Series of night meetings were held and a revolt was planned. Series of night meetings were held and a revolt was planned. In 1889, on Christmas Day, they started the violence. 1889, on Christmas Day, they started the violence. Buildings were burned down. Buildings were burned down. Arrows were shot at Christian missionaries. Arrows were shot at Christian missionaries and Munda Christian converts. Christian missionaries and Munda Christian converts. Police stations and government officials were attacked. Police stations and government officials were attacked. Over the next few months, similar attacks were carried out. Similar attacks were carried out. Finally, the resistance was crushed and Birsa Munda was arrested in February 1900. Okay, resistance was crushed. Birsa Munda was arrested in February 1900. Later, he died in jail. Okay, he died in jail. Birsa Munda became a folk hero, FOLK, folk hero. He was being celebrated in many folk songs till today. Because of this Munda rebellion, the British formulated a policy on tribal land. Okay, tribal land. In 1908, the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act was passed. In the year 1908, the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act was passed. This Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act restricted the entry of non-tribal people into the tribal land. Restricted the entry of non-tribal people into the tribal land. Okay, children, with this I finish today's session. I'll meet you in the next session with the next heading, that is Great Rebellion of 1857. Okay, prepare well for your exam. Okay, bye children. Thank you.